Okay,
Okay.
pick back up where you left off.
Yeah, I'll be brief because I was rambling a lot. I was saying that in the 19th century, Spain had I don't know the exact number, but I can say that with I can say with no doubt that we had like four, five, I don't remember how many different constitutions. So that is that is not that is unstable and too many military coups during that 19th century. So when the progressive side of the military was gaining, ground, they would they would start a coup and back, if the conservative side were majority in the military, they would do the same and suppress um, the older constitution and create a new one with all their ideas. So the constitution we have now, which is the 1978, it's from 1979. Sorry, yeah, 1978. It's a constitution that it tries it's like it's trying to put both sides, the left and the right, the more conservative people and the more liberal and the more left wing people, in a sort of consensus. So it's a very moderate constitution because it's like a uni-party constitution. It would be like that. But I don't want to talk about the history of Spain because this is not what it should be about. Um, what we should talk about is the situation with the prospects of a cashless society in some context that maybe you want to talk about that and the
Yes, that's all
dangers
an
of.
effort. It's all an effort to get us to have a national ID and to implement a social credit score, which they've been perfecting in countries like China, things
Yeah.
like that. And then that'll be the last step in the financial order. That's why they want to destroy the dollar and bring about this just complete techno-fascist. I mean, talk about just depopulation. I mean, this is the last thing they want. It's like humans are surrounded, we're cattle, and we're surrounded by three-quarters of a trough. They implement this social credit score, we're theirs. I mean, there's no avoiding anything. Mark of the beast, if you will. A lot of people like to take it to a biblical, prophetic thing. And I mean, that could be true. It sounds very true, but without going off on some, biblical prophetic jag about stuff like that and just talking, speculating from that. This social credit score is the last thing. I mean, to have, it's going to be tied to your carbon emissions, tied to your, every agenda as an excuse to depopulate and control, and it'll never allow for savings. Money will expire. It'll just be the absolute control. It's exactly what these international bankers want. And I'll tell you what, life won't be worth living.
Yeah. And of course for for middle class, working class communities,
There won't be
for
one anymore. There won't be. There
yeah.
won't be.
Yeah, that's completely I mean, it's very, if you think about it, it's very sinister what
Well, it's
you
beyond
know
sinister. But what these people
yeah.
do is sinister things all the time. Listen, the people that want to control us at the very top, I'm talking way higher than Trump. And this isn't some sort of, you know, um, conspiracy or anything. People can look up these bloodlines, these people that like the Rockefellers, the
Yeah.
Medici's, the DuPont. They are all, I think they're all Rh negative blood, and they truly think that look into that. People need to look up Rh negative. They need to understand that these people truly view us as chattel or cattle, damn near the same thing, and that we are roaches in their pantry eating up their um, resources, if you will, breathing all their air and and taking up all their land, and they want to return back to feudalism and serfdom and only allow enough of a population to um, serve their needs. But I think they've even transcended that, and that's why they want to move to silicon. That's why there's all this AI, and they don't even want to have humans anymore. They feel they're above that. They'll upload their consciousness to silicon-based, AI, and they'll be, these supreme rulers. And if that sounds far-fetched, you really need to do your research and or pull your head out of your ass. I don't say any of that to offend people. I say that because that's what all these agendas are brought about to be. I mean, so, perfect example of that without going, touching back on my last point, but for a different reason. The reason, I mentioned Project Artichoke and all this soft kill stuff, fluoride here and destroying the school system there, and, mRNA and beef here, and all these little things, death by a thousand cuts, is because it's successive approximation. It's about destroying us without any sort of accountability. And what these families, these ruling families that have the money to influence politics, sabotage things, and fund groups by proxy. They prop up people like a Kamala Harris or a Joe Biden. To take the heat,
Yeah.
because that's what we remember. When we refer to all those actions, we say, "Oh, Joe Biden this, Kamala Harris that." When those people are completely incompetent and incapable of getting where they are. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if people can research about all these bloodlines and understand, these banking families, they view themselves as custodians of this earth. They are all heavily involved in the occult. And see, if people don't learn about the way those people think, they will always project their kindness, goodness, or worldview onto everything. When what people really need to do is learn about their agenda. People need to learn about the occult and not some sort of like sacrificing your cat after a Slayer concert. I'm talking, you need to understand
Yeah.
why these families rape their kids, trans their kids, eat and kill babies. And I say that all so desensitized. I don't mean to. It's a horrible thing, but it's because once one understands the occult and understands the spiritual value of deception, death, and hurting innocence,
Yeah.
you'll understand where they are trying to bring us and sleepwalk us. And I've had to do deep, deep, deep research. A lot of people that have helped me learn about it were G. Edward Griffin and Ted Gunderson, who was a retired FBI agent. And unpacking everything that they went through, they speak from experience, just like the beauty of you reaching out instead of, I don't know, turning on CNN or reading some, article on Google. You reach out to an actual person here in the real world and try and get real information, which I commend you for. Whether, you agree, disagree, anything with me, the fact that you reach out and want to hear it from the horse's mouth will keep you in touch. It is a beautiful thing, and I encourage everyone to do the same thing. And
Yeah. I think this is the best way to learn about
it is. There's
politics.
no
So
better way unless you came here and learned
yeah.
physically. Zoom's the next best thing.
Yeah.
So you could hate me. I respect the hell out of you for reaching out and speaking to someone here in this nation to actually get a feel. If I really wanted to learn from, someone in Spain, I'd have to do the same thing. Either we Zoom, and just speaking to people, anyway. So um
Yeah.
another person I want to, circling back to this whole money situation, digital money, there is a wonderful channel and a wonderful person who worked inside the deep state and could not believe what the hell is going on. And her name is Catherine Austin Fitz, and she runs a channel and a website called the Solari Report. She basically, everything she's getting around to is the fact that there is a parallel society being built or has been built. They're simply getting bigger underground here in America, actually worldwide. Okay, deep underground military bases and things that are happening out in outer space. Um, so all our unjust taxes, income taxes, stolen money, black budget, all that does is fund a government that, how do I say this? I think it emerged from the Bank of International Settlements, hand in hand, spawned from the end of World War II, which technically America never won, and maybe you could argue as far as technically never ended. Um, and the Bank of International Settlements being above any sort of recourse on earth. It was chartered and created to be above any sort of accountability. And that, being the parent of our third, America's third private central bank, the Federal Reserve, which it's just a child, an offspring of the Bank of International Settlements, which technically people think is out of DC. Part of it is, yes, the almost, I don't want to say vestigial part, but the chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell. No, no, no. The New York Fed runs our federal government, federal bank, which should be left to the Treasury, and we should have Treasury notes and silverbacks like JFK wanted with Executive Order 1110. But there is a huge mezzanine firm, private equity group called BlackRock, ran by Larry Fink,
Yeah.
who's the actual head of the World Economic Forum, who was Klaus Schwab's boss. This guy's heavily into the occult. These people hate you, and one can never minimize or underestimate the projection of their hatred onto humanity. Okay. I say that because
Yeah.
the guy running the New York Fed, Larry Fink, actually handles all of our money and is the all the money from the Federal Reserve is really controlled in New York out of that branch, and all the money that the government sits on is actually, instead of it just sitting in these accounts and doing nothing or bonds, whatever, like everyone thinks, that some of that is true. Is it's actually the BlackRock is the front. It is the unlimited fund. It is the deep
Yeah.
state got together and they're like, well, what do we do with all this money that we have? And we control this money. Well, let's create this company called BlackRock. Larry Fink will run it. And that's how it's able to invest and buy out and have social goals instead of, profit goals. That's why Disney, Paramount, whatever, 51% of it is BlackRock or whatever, and with this unlimited money to go pay them whatever they want. And now, okay, we're gonna have trans story time and all this stuff. So if we have um, a social credit score, if we go to digital ID, if we go to cashless, all this stuff, which they're always trying to make up some new disease, new excuse. They have a million of them. It's just which deck of cards. You got to think the globalists have a deck of cards. Okay, which one? They play these hands like 9/11, COVID, all this stuff. And sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. But all they need is enough of the population to believe it. That way it can counterbalance all the people that resist.
Yeah.
And so that's how they view it. And so I'm telling you, the death of humanity, life won't be worth living if all this stuff can successfully be implemented. And because of America being freer than most other nations, um, you know, that's why, a social credit score is rolled out in other nations as a beta test, perfected, and then, it's tried to be brought here through some catalyzing event, which will definitely be false flag, you know.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned some of these things, but I want to speak a bit. I want us to talk a bit about the woke agenda because this is something that in Europe is it's becoming very popular. The identities, uh, the identity politics agenda that LGBT trans
That's
people.
just the bottom. That's just the veneer of a satanic agenda, and I
Yeah,
don't say that as a holy roly thing. This has been, designed to be rolled out, and that is again, people have to understand the occult and that Baphomet is a transgender god, and a lot of these wealthy families worship it. And the reason why they worship it is because when they do kill babies and they do things that are so evil that normal people cannot even fathom, they will actually get in return. One could just say magical events. Things happen. They will become very rich. And so there's a woman who was saved by Ted Gunderson and maybe one other person in the deep state who turned, called Kathy O'Brien. And so just like an expert with finances, who you should, if you can reach out and get her on your show, Catherine Austin Fitz knows everything about the social credit score. And she speaks from absolute experience, not as like a seasoned person, with a normal objective view on the outside. This woman worked in DHS. She saw where the
Yeah.
money was being funneled. She knows most of America could not handle, and if exposed to the truth, would just Stockholm out. She would be the absolute best with the Solari report. If you want to talk about social credit scores, if you want to talk about anything woke, one of the best people to talk to is someone who was raped and beaten and hurt and trafficked by Satanists, and by some strange reason was allowed to live. Um, you know, uh, George W. Bush, I think, raped her, and Trudeau's father raped her and complained. He lamented how she was allowed to live because she was going to continue to be trafficked. A lot of these kids that are trafficked in these circles in the occult, they're killed and eaten. Um, and if that sounds too crazy, people need to understand like the spiritual value. I know you and I have not only do we want to stop and protect and abolish everywhere around the world the killing of eating of babies, but people have to understand that in the spiritual realm, okay, like the sacrificing of innocence is a currency and will get you, other entities from other dimensions that's how you call them. That's how you and I,
Yeah.
we talk on Zoom. There's a Zoom link. Well, a Zoom link to an interdimensional world to get you to actually get ahead in life is killing babies and things of that nature, and all these wars with these high death counts.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't, the satanic, families, these occultic families, the De Medici and Massimo family that run Italy, and hell, even the probably the royal bloodlines of Spain, that are Rh negative. They do this because they get ahead. They don't mean, I don't want to say they don't kill babies in vain, and how could that ever not be? But there are components. It rewires the brain when they view us as chattel that we're less. And I know I keep going back to this, but the transgenderism and wokeism is depopulation, is out of the British society, which spawned all this ancestral and homosexual, all this. It's part of this Tavistock Institute, Cold Harbor Springs, Michigan agenda. And Kathy O'Brien can attest to that. She overheard all the conversations of what people here in America would call the political elite, ex-presidents and banking families, while at either Bohemian Grove or Mackinac Island, where there's the drowning pool where they kill people in Michigan. And she was around all these, she just overhearing all this stuff. She would hear about, hey, we're going to make everything trans and all this stuff. And, it better helps their God, Baphomet. So to see wokeism and transgenderism, all this stuff, just anything that's not, it gets you to literally go against your intellectual and survival instincts. If it's against having a straight family and it's anti-abortion and pro-life and all this stuff, it is projection of transgenderism and this occultic, it's just the first layer, it's the first wave. It's this agenda giving birth and projecting onto us. And I know I always take it back to occultism and things like that, but once people understand that just because we don't believe in it and we don't sacrifice babies and we don't view other people as chattel, like when you reach out to me, I'm not like, who is this subhuman person that
Yeah.
is not going to be like, just because we don't think like that, the people that are in these, just unbelievably wealthy. They create the whole, banking, dynamics of this world. They think like that. And this
Yeah.
isn't an insult to them. This is just people need to understand, and everything they do is in furtherance of that agenda. And now that Trump has gone sideways, I mean, really, it's just as great as Trump was, he was just a speed bump. I'm so scared they're just going to roll all this back and life won't be worth living once he's out. And just for, people in America, hey, look, I know you know this, but Trump's never going to be on the ballot again, and it's horrible. But
Yeah.
or I guess you could say it's not that horrible, given the fact that he went sideways on his agenda. But I really wish you could take it instead of hearing it from me, if you could reach out and maybe try and get with people, on your show. I know you want to interview politicians, but what would really help you, because it would go hand in hand with politicians, and these real agendas is reaching out to, like I said, Catherine Austin Fitts with the Solaria report,
Yeah,
reaching out to Kathy O'Brien, who wrote the book. It's called Transformation of America. And she came out with it years ago. I mean, maybe in the 90s. Kathy O'Brien has slept, I think, with every president up until from right after, I think, JFK, from I don't know, just every president from right after JFK to maybe Bill Clinton. She was part of this group of kids that usually were killed off and never even get to
yeah,
tell their tale. I mean, I don't care who denies it. I mean, she has such damning, photographic memory of like the most wild person couldn't even make up these details. And not only that, I mean, she's called all this stuff. She always says this. She would always say, "What you're seeing is nothing new. It's just new that we're starting to understand." Or she has some saying like, um, because all this satanic stuff, really, and eating children and sacrifice that never went away. It simply went underground in modern times, and simply um, these families that perpetuate it carried on these traditions just at nighttime parties or underground
yeah,
gatherings like in the movie Eyes Wide Shut. So um wokeism and all this stuff, what it is anti-human. People that get frazzled by it, mainly Democrats, but even the nice people that are middle of the road, they're like, hey, you know what, you should let, hey, two guys want to go bang each other and adopt a child, you should let them. And look where being tolerant got us. Successive approximation, it's not sustaining. It's you cannot have two grown men, they'll never create a child. And not only that, it's not a balanced system for proper child raising, nor is two females. There's a reason the
yeah.
only way that a child can be created is male reproductive organs getting in contact, obviously, with female reproductive organs. And I mean, I don't need to give everyone a birds and a bees talk, but I mean, we're all adults here, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
um, wokeism is the first layer. Okay, comparable analogy. To get kids hooked on smoking, usually, there's obviously cigarettes or tobacco products marketed to children, bright colors and flavors. So like
yeah,
wokeism is basically the children's cigarette, the first wave, the almost not I want to say once removed, but the very flowery packaging on the occult.
yeah. Well, the you mentioned your mega candidate, and of course you are pro Trump and you are pro God.
I mean, I'm
I
pro
want,
2016 Trump. Trump really went sideways. I mean,
yeah,
this is changing things midway. So, I'm distancing myself again from Trump now, starting to look. I want to. It's about being honest. Well, I know Trump's such a hot button issue, and I'm sorry to stop you midway, but I just want
no,
to
no
be
worries.
clear on the fact that I tried to start my own party in 2020 and 2022 when I ran for major office both times,
Yeah,
distancing myself from Trump because of the whole COVID agenda, even though a lot of my agenda aligned with Trump. I tried to start the Gold Party, which I did, but it didn't get, enough recognition to go nationwide. But, now it's, midstream with this now, even though I signed up Republican to align with MAGA, you know, I'm trying to almost distance myself again from Trump because of the decisions he's starting to make. And
yeah,
it's a shame. I want to praise him for the good he does, but hold him accountable and not be delusional and sit there and stay on the sinking ship for the bad he does. So that's my whole thing is no matter who it is, it doesn't have to be Trump. Anyone, hell, me, for instance, if I start acting bad, if I was started being rude to you, hypothetically, and mean to you, and it's like I would hope you would distance yourself from me, instead of one, not that you would, but saying, okay, well, I got to keep interviewing Xan, he gets me views or whatever, like or I agree with him, it's like we have a
yeah,
brain, and a big part of Trump's constituency are moral people and people that do think for themselves. So, and unlike the left, which, just, hey, we're going to cut our kids, breast and dicks off. Let's do it. They jump in 2 feet first. Trump, will alienate his base. whenever he starts making bad decisions. And it's a shame. I want to adhere to absolute maximum, founding father, advancing our rights, growing the middle class, getting rid of taxes, just complete nationalism, populism, capitalism, uh, uh, um, tendencies. But anyway, go back. You say I'm pro-Trump, all this stuff after I explain it. Yeah, but what?
Yeah. No, I was gonna say that about American values and what what these values mean to you.
They mean not having any sort of encumbrance to health and upward mobility and family. American values as a whole are one that would lift not only people in this nation, but people of the world, caring about others, empathy, family values. Um, when there is such moral decay through the advancement of this death by a thousand cut agenda, American values, diminish or evaporate, erode. And we say American values. I simply mean, it shouldn't be unique to America. It's just human values. I am pro-human. I love
Yeah,
carbon-based life. I love the opposite sex. I love children. I do not harm children. I care about others. I want you to do well. I hope you stay healthy. I hope you have a wonderful, long life. And I care very deeply about your family. I don't say this to curry favor with you. I don't care if you hate me. I have a love for humanity
I
and those
don't.
good. Do what?
No, I don't hate you.
No, I know you don't. No, no, no. Is that what it sounds like? The point I'm making coming across? I was speaking
No,
in
no,
general.
no, no.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no,
Yeah.
it was just a clarification.
Yeah, of course. I know this. I was saying, even if you did,
Yeah,
I know you're not like that. We're not adversarial, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak my mind on these interviews.
yeah,
I'm simply saying I just use you because you're there, as a touchstone example or one in general.
yeah,
You know, what made this country great as far as American values could make any country great. Though, opinions would differ, I think, slightly because of cultures and upbringing. What
yeah,
are American values in general could be any other sovereign nation's values.
yeah. Well, to start with the final questions and the final issues. You're running for the Senate in Louisiana. Can you tell me a little bit, the which are, which is the situation of the state of Louisiana right now in terms of politics, and what are the most state and local issues that you want to prioritize?
So what's happening is we're having a midterm here in 2026. The election, I
Yeah,
think, is going to take place November 3rd. And recent changes since the last election in 2024 here in Louisiana, the first ever, um, are the fact that you have to either sign up Republican or Democrat. So in the past, when I started my own party, the Gold Party, I wouldn't even be able to get on the ballot. So what we have to
yeah,
do is sign up Republican or Democrat moving forward. And I am a Republican candidate who has supported Trump very much in the past whenever he makes the right choice. But I have a track record of distancing myself from him in the past whenever he, screws up. And I know that his intentions are good. He didn't think that he was being held hostage with the whole COVID agenda. I mean, he was just like, what Fauci's saying, this is what it takes to turn the economy on. Okay, well then, hey, shit, push the shots. I mean,
yeah,
he is making a reactive business decision. Okay, is this what it takes to turn the economy on? Okay, we'll go do it. So he, Trump's virtues are also his vices, him not being a career politician. And Trump isn't perfect, but he is the creation, he is the manifestation now of the middle class and lower class of America. And he simply rode this wave of populism. But back to Louisiana. Louisiana has an open seat, or no, well, has an incumbent, Bill Cassidy, and he voted to impeach Trump. And he is just, I think if you look it up, he's one of
Yeah.
the highest paid, if not the highest paid, DC
Yeah.
senator who takes money from Big Pharma. So, and he's, loved the mask, he loved the lockdowns, and he was all about it. And I ran against Bill Cassidy 6 years ago in 2020, saying the same thing. And so everything I've
Yeah.
said on record since 2020 at every major election has aged like fine wine. I don't say that pompously. If people do their research into me, they'll understand that my message has never changed. I've been right, I've been vindicated, and I've caught so much hell because of it. Death threats, my house has been swatted, just you name it. I mean, I'm happy to be
Yeah.
alive and breathing today. But um, to be honest, I mean, I'd like to say, yeah, there's a lot of good candidates out there that are also running that are Republican. But then again, not, I have never met another candidate as completely objective and just an absolute truther like I am. You have some that come close, I'll give you that, but very few and
Yeah.
far between, and so I don't say that to break an arm, jerking myself off to sound so special. I'm simply saying it's this level of candidness and this level of absolute objectivity is quite rare amongst candidates because they stand to lose so much and to probably have the second they get into DC, if they can survive CIA deep state assassination attempts, have their salary, just diminished, withheld because of the leadership in DC. But I
Yeah.
don't do that for that. But what else would you like to discuss?
No, I was asking more about, state issues, and local issues that
Well, state issues we
maybe,
have, I mean, we have tons of issues. I don't know where to
yeah.
begin. I know that we're building data centers. Our Republican governor, who I ran against, Jeff Landry, is building a huge data center. I hate the concept of these things. I hate increasing all this technological stuff because
Yeah.
we're going to get the bad end of the spectrum. We're promised the good end of the spectrum of technology, but only get the bad end of the spectrum, spectrum used against us. So I'm not excited about
Yeah.
that. I think it's almost near completion. It's a Meta Blue Owl. I don't know. It's up around Monroe, Louisiana. We're facing, very bad infrastructure as far as our bridges, but I think there are projects that are I've learned of just recently to replace at least the bridge in Lake Charles, which is, just a choke point on I-10. Other issues, I mean, really, I mean, we're not unique. I mean, I'm trying to think of something like Louisiana unique issues. I mean, even if I could spout off Louisiana unique issues, none of them will matter if we go to, full thermonuclear war here soon and or have a
Yeah.
social credit score rolled out because of it. So, uh, the reason I'm running for federal office is to have nation, to impact things on a national level, if not a world, the world stage. So that's why I'm running for federal office. I mean, to have more Louisiana centric issues would be more of, if you were talking to me during my governor race in 2023. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not trying to evade or avoid all that. I'm just, as far as what I'm doing
Yeah, yeah, I
this
know.
time.
I
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
It's different if you're running for
Yes.
federal,
National
for,
agenda. Yeah.
yeah, it's and I mean the national agenda is so, it's so important right now.
I
Then
agree. Thank you.
the this, local considerations don't have any relevance if the war continues, and all the things.
We are there. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, I think we don't have much time, so yeah, we have like 5 minutes left. So, just a conclusion. What would you like to say? To conclude this
In
this
conclusion,
pro
if people have listened this far, I know I'm quite boring to listen to, but if people want to do their own research, and or this is duplicative, if you want to reach out to these people, I would love if you got on and or people looked up, like I said, Catherine Austin Fitts with the Solari report. I
Yeah.
mean, people want to learn about this digital ID and all this stuff and just the background of how all, the Bank of International Settlements and out of Switzerland and all, all this central banking and how it came about and the Bretton Woods Agreement and just the real history that we were never given. Catherine Austin Fitz is awesome. And she's a loving, moral, sweet person that has wonderful guests on. And if you want to reach out to Kathy O'Brien and read her book or research, if people want to look up
Yeah.
Kathy O'Brien, she was supposed to be killed at a young age. She was a sex slave. She had to be programmed out of it. Poor thing. And I mean,
Yeah.
she has been in every underground tunnel to every elite party and can tell you who has this shape, you know what, and how they do things. Okay. And I
Yeah.
say that because she's not making things up. So if your guests want to look that up or look into Kathy O'Brien with her book Transformation of America, I mean, it would just make so many things make sense. And the last thing is, please look up. They just released it. It's called Operation Artichoke, and look at all the declassified information. The reason why America has death by a thousand cuts is because we are armed. We have a Second Amendment, and we couldn't be invaded by a traditional army. Everyone has guns. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why we get soft kill instead. Fluoride in water, chemtrails, all the transing, which is completely unnecessary. No one voted for, so they know they can't show up with a Nazi uniform and a machine
Yeah.
gun at our door. So that's why Bill Gates wears a sweater vest and says, "Take your vaccine." It's soft kill. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I'm always here for you. And I hope people look up the people and things I told them to. It'll help make sense of everything. And I just appreciate your time and thank the listeners.
Yeah, I appreciate your time too. And I hope you have a nice day.
All right, yes, ma'am. You too. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you. Bye.
All right, bye.